Long ago, there lived an old king whose strength was failing. As he lay in bed, pale and weak, he knew that his life was nearing its end. His thoughts were not on himself, but on his only son, who was still young and inexperienced. The king feared that without guidance, the boy would not know how to rule wisely or protect himself from danger. Summoning his most loyal servant, the king said, "Send for Trusty John." Trusty John had served the king faithfully all his life and was known throughout the court for his honesty and devotion. When he came to the king's bedside, the king spoke with great seriousness. "My time has come," he said. "I can die in peace only if you promise me one thing. My son is still tender of age. You must guide him, teach him what is right, and protect him as if you were his own father. Promise me this, even if it should cost you your life." Trusty John knelt and replied without hesitation, "I will never forsake him. I will serve him as faithfully as I have served you, even at the cost of my life." Comforted by this promise, the king added one final warning. After his death, Trusty John was to show the young king every part of the castle's halls, chambers, vaults, and treasures except one room at the end of the long gallery. In that forbidden chamber hung a portrait of the princess of the Golden Dwelling. The king warned that if his son ever saw the picture, he would fall dangerously in love, lose all peace of mind, and bring great misfortune upon himself. Trusty John swore to obey, and soon after, the old king closed his eyes and died. After the funeral, Trusty John kept his word. He told the young king of his promise and assured him of his loyalty. When the days of mourning had passed, he led the young ruler through the palace, showing him its wonders and treasures. Yet each time they came to the long gallery, Trusty John passed by one door without opening it. The young king noticed this and asked, "Why do you never open this room for me?" "There is something inside that would frighten you," Trusty John replied. But the king grew more curious each day. At last he insisted, saying he would have no peace until he saw what lay behind the door. Trusty John begged him to reconsider, reminding him of his promise to the old king, but the young ruler would not relent. With a heavy heart, Trusty John unlocked the door and stepped inside first, hoping to block the king's view. But the king looked over his shoulder and saw the portrait. It showed a maiden of breathtaking beauty, adorned in gold and precious jewels, painted so lifelike that she seemed to breathe. At the sight of her, the king fell to the floor in a faint. Trusty John carried him to his bed and revived him with wine. When the king awoke, his first words were, "Who is that beautiful maiden?" "She is the princess of the Golden Dwelling," Trusty John answered. The king declared that he loved her more than life itself and would give everything to win her. Though troubled, Trusty John set his mind to helping his master. He devised a plan. Since everything the princess owned was made of gold, they would craft magnificent golden objects to present to her. Goldsmiths worked day and night, creating vessels, animals, and wondrous figures. When all was ready, Trusty John dressed as a merchant, and the king disguised himself as well. They sailed across the sea to the princess's kingdom. Trusty John went ashore alone and displayed the golden treasures. A maidservant was so impressed that she led him to the princess herself. The princess admired the gold, but Trusty John told her that these were only a small part of his master's collection. Curious and eager, she agreed to visit the ship. Once aboard, the king showed her all the golden wonders. While she marveled, the ship silently sailed away. When she realized she was far from land, she cried out in fear. The king then revealed his true identity and confessed his love. Hearing this and seeing his honesty, the princess agreed to become his wife. As they sailed home, Trusty John heard 3 ravens talking. They foretold 3 dangers that would threaten the king: a deadly horse, a cursed bridal garment, and a deadly faint during the wedding dance. Each danger could be prevented but only if Trusty John acted without explanation, and doing so would turn him to stone. Determined to save his master, Trusty John said nothing. When they reached shore, a magnificent horse appeared. As the king moved to mount it, Trusty John leaped on first and shot it dead. Though others complained, the king defended him. Later, when a golden bridal garment appeared, Trusty John burned it. Again, the king trusted him. At the wedding dance, the queen suddenly collapsed. Trusty John lifted her, drew 3 drops of blood from her breast, and spat them out, saving her life. But the king, unaware of the danger, was horrified and had Trusty John imprisoned and sentenced to death. At the gallows, Trusty John was allowed to speak. He told of the raven's prophecy and how every act had been done to save the king. As he finished, he turned completely to stone. The king and queen were filled with grief. The stone figure was placed in the king's bedroom, and he wept often, wishing he could restore his faithful servant. Years later, the queen bore twin sons. One day, the stone spoke, saying Trusty John could be restored if the king never leads wars of conquest, allows no subject in his kingdom to go hungry, and always judges with justice. The king, with his own blood, made a vow before the statue that he would fulfill the conditions to restore faithful John to life. The king, with great joy and selflessness, devoted himself to those virtues. In doing so, he became respected among all kings and beloved by his people, and a miracle happened. The stone statue came to life, and faithful John stood before him, healthy and joyful. The family was reunited, and they lived in happiness, honoring loyalty, truth, and sacrifice until the end of their days. If you liked this video, please make a comment and like it, so we can make more videos like this.